Thank you for standing by, and welcome to the Enterprise Content Division Customer Experience Program webinar. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode until the question-and-answer session of today's conference. At that time, to ask a question, you may press star followed by the number 1 on your phone and record your name at the prompt. This call is being recorded. If you have any objections, you may disconnect at this time. And I would now like to turn the call over to your host, to Ms. Diana Yanez-Pastor. Ma'am, you may now begin.
Great. Thank you so much, Operator, and good morning and good afternoon, everyone. We're very excited to have you join us today. Wanted to go ahead and cover off on our Customer Experience Program webinar, What's New in Leap Career. And I'd like to introduce our guest speaker. If you can go ahead and advance the slide, Taha. Great. Our guest speaker today is Taha Bensiba, and he is a Principal Product Manager for Leap Career. Before we start the webinar today, I just wanted to let everyone know that we will have the Q&A session at the end, and the operator will instruct everyone how to enter the question and answer session. We had some very exciting news last week with the ECD and Open Text News. It's business as usual. Close is expected within the next 90 to 120 days. And the customer investment will be protected. We have great opportunities for you to learn more about this exciting merger. And just go ahead and keep up to date on our executive blog on the ECN customer community. I wanted to just cover off on 2 events that we have upcoming. The first one is Momentum Barcelona, so we are very excited to have Momentum coming back to Europe this year. We have the event happening in Barcelona, October 31st through November 3rd. This is a great opportunity for our customers to meet one another, to meet ECD, to hear about some exciting product and solution announcements. We'll have our Genius Lab, hands-on lab, lots of great stuff for our customers. The good thing is the early bird discount is still available through tomorrow, and everyone will get a copy of the replay of this webinar. You can also go on to Barcelona Momentum on the website and register. So you don't want to miss this event. And the next event that we have coming to 4 cities next month is our Customer.next. And you can kind of think of Customer.next as like a mini Momentum. The agenda is based off of the customer feedback all of you have provided to us. We have 20-plus breakout sessions, hands-on labs, and we're taking it first to New York City on October 5th, which happens to be the Global Customer Experience Day. We're very excited about that. We have an event in Los Angeles on the 13th, followed by Austin, Texas on the 17th and 18th, and then we'll conclude in Chicago on the 25th. The Customer.next is a free event, and you can go on and register. Very exciting news for both of these events that are upcoming. So without further ado, I'm going to turn that over to Taha.
All right. Thank you, Diana. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. My name is Taha Bensiba. I am the product manager looking after Leap Career, and I'm really excited to be able to share a little bit more about career with our community and maybe just help bring to light some of the key facts and answer some of the questions that you might have around Leap Career or around Leap in general. I think probably everyone by now would have heard about Leap, but I'm not sure if everyone might have had the same understanding about what Leap is. So I'll do a very quick brief on Leap before I move on into career. So Leap is a family of apps, a marketplace, and a platform, and a set of platform services that have been in development for quite some time right now, and we've been very excited to announce the release during EMC World this year. As the as one of the first apps that were released as part of Leap. I'm going to cover mostly Courier today, but if during the Q&A there are any questions on Snap, Concert, Express, or Focus, I can also help either get in touch with the right person or maybe help get some answers for you guys on that as well. Now, for maybe just to give kind of an idea about where Leap fits within the overall ECD portfolio, Leap was, you can think about Leap as the edge of your content management applications. In the past, we've been quite successful with Documentum and InfoArchive in serving both the business and the processors, the document controllers, as well as IT, respectively. But our portfolio was never really built in order to serve our own customers' our own customers' partners, which is what we call the edge, and what is represented in this diagram by that people part up top. And the idea was, how can we extend the set of functionality that our technology allow our customers to leverage in order to help reach out for these lightweight, often external users who probably have very specific requirements that are not meant with our current clients and our current applications. And in a nutshell, that is the mission statement for Leap. It is to put together a family of applications and put together a platform that will help serve this underserved segment of application, underserved segment of functionality that is not really that's not really fit for either traditional Documentum, be it on-premise or on demand, or InfoArchive, which, as most of you probably know, is really geared towards an IT-based community. So without further ado, I'm going to jump straight into Courier, and I think that I thought probably easier for me to give you guys a demonstration about what Courier is, and then try and come back and explain exactly where is it that we're taking it. But in a nutshell, Courier is a Leap app that was built specifically to answer the requirements around exchanging documents with external parties, with external organizations in a structured, secure way. So it is a document collection, document exchange with validation and tracking capabilities that was built from the ground up with the idea of enabling external collaboration with external parties. I think the easiest way for me has always been to give a quick demonstration of Exchange configured for a use case that should be familiar for pretty much everyone. So what I'm going to do right now is that I'm going to start off a short demo with of Courier configured for a mortgage document collection use case. And then although Courier being a horizontal tool is fit for being applied to all kind of different use cases, this is one that's fairly common with everyone and should be quite easy to understand. So let me share my screen. Let me see. Okay, I believe you should be able to see my instance of Chrome.
It looks great.
Can you, Diana? Okay. All right. So for the purpose of this demonstration, I'll be impersonating two users, Taha, the loan mortgage application agent, and Michael Dell, the borrower. Now, let me first start up. So I just logged into my instance of Courier, and I can see on my dashboard that I only have one case currently active, and that is refinance for the Dell family in Barcelona. I can see that this is a loan for salaried borrowers. That's the category of case that I have in front of me. And I have some quick stats that come up as I hover on this specific case, showing me basically how many folios have been submitted, how many folios have been reviewed. And folio is you can think of folios as placeholders for documents. I think I'll make that a little bit more obvious in a second, right? So if I go in, so the first thing that I see, so this is the main page within Courier. This is what we often refer to as the case view. And in this case, in this specific situation, the case is the refinance for the Michael Dell family for their summer home in Barcelona. I can quickly browse and see what are the different categories of documents that have been submitted by Mr. Dell and which ones are still pending. So in this particular situation, my attention is brought to three types of documents: social security number, gift letter, and the credit statements, which have been submitted by Michael as part of his application, and which show as in review for me. So my role as the agent is to basically review all the documents that Michael has submitted, make sure that he has basically just run a quick sanitization, make sure that he sent the right documents, that they're readable, that they're viable, before I approve all these documents to go through and for the rest of the loan origination process to pick up. So you can think typically, in a mortgage or in a loan or in a loan process, in a loan origination process, there is always a sub process, if you will, at the beginning of the cycle, where a set of documents need to be collected based on the type of loan that is being pursued. So in this particular case, I can see that Michael has uploaded his social security number, has uploaded a gift letter, and has uploaded 4 documents into credit statements. And what I can do, so I can click on this card, and I can see what he has uploaded. You have on the right side, you have this comment panel that is specific to each and every one of these folios, which allows me to basically keep a single thread and avoid having to go through disparate email exchanges in order to collaborate with Michael on the content of this specific folio. So I can see that his social security card is readable, it's correct, validity is fine. And I can see a last comment from Mike saying, I've replaced the previous image with a clearer one. Let me know if this one's better. Now I'm going to go ahead and approve this document. If I click on this bar right up, I have the possibility to add an optional note. I'll just go, looks great. And this communication thread that you see on the right, which basically also kind of combines the communication as well as the workflow history. So it will show exactly when I have approved this document. It will also record any optional notes that I have, and it'll keep these for the record. So at the end of this entire process, so once once we compile all of the documents that have been submitted and we push them to a loan origination system, or push them we push these to a repository, we can push these to document them, and trigger an NXCP process to help pick up the rest. So this workflow history will be something that gets converted and kind of kept like a lightweight audit trail in a way. It will not necessarily cover things such as, you know, when have I uploaded or accessed or viewed any of these documents, but it will basically maintain that workflow history of who has submitted what documents, when, what were the comments, what was the flow. So if it was rejected, what was the reason for rejection, and if it was finally reapproved, then what was the reason for approval. So now you can see on the screen that it's showing that the Social Security number folio has been marked as complete. I no longer have any action to do here. I could still download this document, or if there were multiple, I could download multiple documents in here. But instead, my role is done here. I can see that my number of documents in review is brought down to 2 from 3. And if I click back here, it will again quickly filter all the folios that I have on my view to only show me the ones that still require my attention. The other thing that we'll do, so I can see that he has uploaded credit statements, but I can already tell that there's a problem with that, because I know that each credit statement is at least 2 pages, and he's required to upload 3 months worth of statements. So at best, we have 2 months here. Yeah, and we just have November and December. So what I'm going to do now is actually the opposite. So I'm gonna reject request revisions on this specific folio, and Michael's going to be notified with an email notification that I have rejected this folio, and I require him to take action from his side. So I'll just go. You're missing your statements. Done. So what happened in the background is that Michael's going to receive an email notification. That email notification will have a direct link to that specific folio, and he's going to have the opportunity. I would be unlocking that folio for him, so he'll be able to modify the documents that he's been submitted, and this flow basically keeps bouncing back and forth between me and Michael and or the other participants in this specific case, until we reach a point where all of the folios are complete, and at which point this entire case content can be pushed to a system of record to document them to any repository that can consume REST services. Let me take, I'm going to do now is that I'm going to log in as Michael on the other side, just to kind of give you an idea about how his experience is going as a borrower. So what he sees is relatively similar. So he has the same dashboard. So if he had multiple applications running, and if he was participating into multiple cases, he would see them listed up in here. In this specific case, he's only seeing one. So if I just go ahead and click on his case, he can see that he has 6 folios that are pending, meaning that he still has 6 different types of documents to upload. There is one that is still in review, so I'm still reviewing his gift letters, and there is one that requires revision. So his attention is brought immediately to this blue CTA right here. This blue button is basically across the app symbolizes a call to action. So we've tried to be consistent and really establish this idea that a green color typically means success or something that has no consequences yet. So he hasn't even started that piece, whereas blue means something that requires attention. And what I can do here as Michael, so I can go in and check exactly. You'll notice that my view is slightly different. So instead of seeing thumbnails, I see a list. I can also switch to the same thumbnail view that the loan agent had. But in my case, given the fact that I already know the content of these documents, I'd prefer a list view where I can quickly go back and forth between the different documents. So I can see that he added a comment saying you're missing your January statements. If I check my emails, I would find an email notification that also said the exact same thing. And what I can do here is that I can browse or drag and drop the missing documents. So I'll go into my credit statement. Oh, hold on. Yes. And I'm going to upload the missing documents. Oh yeah, I didn't notice that I already have these exact same documents uploaded. So let me just pick something else for you, just for the sake of the exercise. So you basically select the documents that you want to upload. You can also drag and drop them within the same screen. And now that that's done, I can submit it back to Taha for review, and I can go. And advise. All right. Okay. So now this folio is sent back to Taha for review. The CTA, this title bar's status of color has changed, just to let me know that there's nothing for me to do here, and I can basically just resume my work and upload the remaining documents. And or if I've uploaded all of it, I can simply just close this instance altogether, and until I receive another notification from Michael saying either all of it is approved or I'm waiting for additional documents. My role here as the submitter is closed. So basically, that was this is Courier in a nutshell. So what I have done in this specific case was using the configuration wizard that's built into the same tool. I've been able to create this template for mortgage document collection. I defined all of those different placeholders and the different sequence of review and approval between the different participants, and then I can spin off new instances of this template and invite participants to basically come in and exchange and review and collaborate on content. You'll notice that no, probably you won't. But Michael is not from this. Does not have the same. Is not on the same domain. So when this specific case was created, he received an email invite asking him to basically either log in or register. So let me quickly check Michael's email. So you see that he's received throughout this exchange a couple of notifications. Whenever I requested adjustments, he's received an email with my notes. When he was initially invited into this session, so he's received this email with a temporary password saying you've been invited to collaborate on this specific case, and he was given a temporary password that allowed him to register, get his login and password set up, get his preferences set up, and he was able to immediately just jump on it and start collaborating with me and providing the relevant content needed to promote his application forward. So I think in 15 minutes, that's pretty much the fastest demo I could do. Ideally, I would have wanted to also show you how this template was set up, but I think that for the purpose of time and in order to really focus on making you guys a little bit more familiar with the application, what it does. I'm probably going to move on now and try and cover a little bit more ground. So let me go back to our slides for a second. Okay. So what you saw was a use case where a specific configuration, if you may, of Courier geared towards loan document collection. It took me maybe 15, 16 minutes to create the template that based on which you've seen that sets of placeholders. I did not require I did not have to do any kind of advanced configuration. I went through a set of wizards that is fairly easy to understand and accessible to anyone. You've been able to see how Courier tracks progress on a specific case and how it keeps the different participants informed with either through email notifications and or through some of the on-screen changes. You've seen how status tracking takes place. So you really just you leverage a couple of cues that the application provides users to understand what is the current status, and you have at all points in time you have access to that filter and to those metrics that make it fairly easy to understand where you stand on that specific case. So how many documents, how many folders have been uploaded, how many of them are pending review, and how many of them are being sent for revisions. It's quite a simple, we went with a very simplified user interface, really just to make it easy for these external users who are typically very lightweight, which will not be trained into using the application. So it's fairly intuitive, it's fairly easy to understand what's required of you. You're assisted at all time. There's a first-time experience that I skipped for this purpose, but when a user logs in for the first time, he's going to get a set of cues that will help him understand where he needs to go next. But we really put a lot of focus on keeping the user experience simple, intuitive, clean, and very easy to understand, and really focused on the task at hand. So it's really narrowed down to the exact scope of Courier. I think the next thing that I wanted to quickly cover is what we call the Leap Together program. So basically, all the there is a loyalty tier for Courier that entitles any customer that either owns eRoom, content server plus either XCP or D2 web top, a custom client, or the more common My Desktop clients are automatically entitled to what we call the loyalty tier. This means that you can have access to Courier for the sake of using it for a small pilot or a POC. Basically, just getting your hands on the application, being able to play with it, and adapt it to your own use cases. There is the easiest way for you to register is really just to go on the leap.emc.com website, and I'll refer you to the exact URL a little bit further on. But I really wanted to make sure that you understand that as part of our existing user base, each and every customer is able to take advantage of the Leap apps at loyalty tier levels. And the website covers a little bit more in detail what the loyalty tier entitles you to. But basically, you have the full functionality of the application for up to 50 active cases at any point in time.
Great. Taha, this is Diana. One of the things that actually came out of a recent user group, and I think it's relevant for our customers here today, is if they don't qualify for the loyalty tier, do they have an opportunity to access Courier?
Sure. Yeah, that's a very good point. So if you're not, if you don't own any of the products that are listed on this, so you can still register for a trial to Courier on the website. So you can just go on the website and trial any of the trial Courier either on the Essential tier or on Ultimate tier. So even if you're not entitled for eligibility, you'd still be a way to get a subscription valid for 30 days. They'll basically help you with your evaluation of POCs or any basically non-production activity. Yep.
Great,
All
thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Diana. The different tiers that Courier supports today. So we have both an Essentials, a Courier Essentials, and a Courier Ultimate. I'm not going to go through that list, but basically, in a nutshell, you can find this exact same information on a URL that I will share with you guys at the end. But the key message is that Courier is a SaaS and a SaaS only application. So it is hosted on EMC's cloud, and it supports. We try to support this use case of external document collection the best we can. And to that point, it has been built for supporting an unlimited number of external users. It's really mainly just licensed by what we call your own internal active user. So in this specific case, Taha was a licensed user, whereas Michael Dell, as an external user who's really just collaborating and contributing content and not really being part of the review approval cycle in a reviewer capability, is basically unlicensed, does not require a license at all. We're gonna quickly touch on a couple of key takeaways. So more information, more details on Courier, and registering for either trial or loyalty tier is something that you could do both, when going through the leap.emc.com URL. So there is an entire there's an entire page on Courier that explains some of the different use cases that we have identified for it. Mortgage document collection was one of them, but consulting documents management is another. There's a couple of other use cases that we feel are a good match for Courier. So you're going to find a couple more resources on this link, as well as the possibility to either register for a trial or register for a loyalty tier, or for any of the other paid tiers, Essentials or Ultimate, from within this. So I'd encourage you to check it out, and don't hesitate to register for your loyalty tier if you're an existing customer, and take the application first bit.
Great. Taha, this is great, and it's nice that you had the link up there as well. I was just going to ask, what can our customers expect in the future?
Sure. So I think maybe a very high level idea about what the roadmap looks like for Courier. So at the time that we're speaking, Courier has been live and in production for a good couple of months now. We've got the APIs that are currently in a beta program that will allow you to integrate Courier into different apps, integrate it to XCP, integrate it to LOB systems as well. What we're working on next is basically localization is one of the key points that we're doing. So by Momentum Barcelona, we're going to be supporting FIGS, French, Italian, German, and Spanish. We're actively working with DocuSign, with whom we've signed a partner agreement in May to integrate digital signature capabilities within Courier, so that if you do have a use case where at any point in time it's not simply just to review and approvals, but if a set of documents need to be sent out for signature and then retained back, that's going to be one functionality that we're quite eager to add in. Advanced template configuration is something that we're working on quite actively, and I expect to, I wasn't able to show you the current case configuration, but we're working on enhancing that experience and providing a little bit more advanced functionalities. Longer term, pretty much what we're exploring. So the application is pure HTML5, so it works on multiple set of devices and browser. We currently support both Chrome, I believe, Chrome, Firefox, IE, and we're working on some final little touches on Edge. The application works is accessible through mobile, but we're working on optimizing that experience. So that is one area that we're actively seeking and exploring. Providing more control on the email notifications and allowing users to white label the application is one of the key things that you can expect next, as well as being able to embed the user interface or through the API, sometimes just the functionality of Courier in other applications. I guess that's probably another key area that we're trying to address in the medium to long term. But yeah, that's pretty much where we stand with regards to the roadmap for Courier. All right, so I think we can open the lines and gladly take on any questions that the audience might have at this time.
Great. Thank you so much, Taha, for that great overview. And I really think that the demonstrations on these webinars, especially for some of our newer technologies, really hits it home with the customers. So I really appreciate your time here. Operator, at this point in time, we'd like to open up the lines for the question and answer session.
Thank you. We will now begin the question and answer session of today's conference. To ask a question, you may press star followed by the number 1 on your phone. Unmute your phone and record your name clearly when prompted. Your name will be required to introduce your question. And to cancel your question, you may press star followed by the number 2. One moment, please, to see if you have questions.
Great. And before we take our first question here, I just wanted to cover off on, we've got some great customer communities. Again, you'll be getting a copy of the replay, but you can connect with your peers and ECD across our champion community. There's also the A-Team Hub, where you're going to network, education, social, fun, learn, and then the ECN community, which I know a lot of our members are today. So these are great places for you to be able to go to connect with others. And it looks like we have a couple of questions on the Q&A panel. So Taha, the first question is from Jose Gidon. And can you show a screenshot of the configuration interface?
Absolutely. I think I can do better than a screenshot. I can actually just open up a live, just give me a second. I can open up a live subscription and just show you what that looks like.
Okay, great. And you can share your desktop.
Mm-hmm. Let me know when you can see my screen.
Okay, we've got it.
Okay. So within the application, based on your privileges, you're going to see different options, or maybe not even see this button at all. But here is what the template creation wizard looks like. So it's basically a 6-step process where if I take, probably easiest for me to open the specific template that I've used for our demo, right? So yeah, so I used the loan salaried borrower one. So basically it's a 6-step process where after basically just naming and providing a description for your template, you defined what are the set of properties that each and every new case needs filled. So you can think these as really just your regular metadata, your case metadata. So for this specific case, I had a borrower's name as text field. I had a phone number also as a string. I had an application number, and I had a property address. None of them were mandatory, but you can add and adjust these even further. So it could have a start and end date in this particular field. So you can build up your properties page, or your case level metadata, if you may, as a first step. And every new case that then is created off this template will be prompted to provide these special. So if I make, for example, the start date mandatory, and I'll one example case creation later, you're going to see what that's going to look like. The next step was basically defining the different users. So in the demo that I showed you, there were 2 groups of users. There was a loan agent, which was Taha, and there was a borrower, which was Michael. You can basically create as many groups as your use case requires. So for this specific use case, I could have a loan processor group, if you want, that would be assisting me in doing this work. You can see that the borrower has been marked as external contributor. That means that any user invited into borrower are external users, so mostly participating in order to provide content and not really have an active review role on it. I can add a third group for, let's say, my branch manager. And next step was, if you recall, that folio structure that you saw, which had a couple of different folios. There was a folio for valid government issued ID, another one for social security number. So that entire structure was built off this screen. So within this screen, I was able to basically just define what are the different, what should be the different placeholders, if you want, that each and every application will need to have content uploaded to in order to be complete. And you can basically play with this the way you want. So I can reduce this list down. I can add additional folios. I can add more portfolios. The portfolios were just the different categories of content. So if you remember, there was an employment portfolio, which had both pay stubs and proof of income. You can have a property portfolio under which I had sales contract, earned money deposit, address and reference. So you basically have these 2 levels that you can use to structure the different types of documents that you're expecting to collaborate on or to collect from your external party. And the last step was basically just deciding what is the workflow for each one of these documents. So what you can see is that for each one of these portfolios, you're able to go into this specific menu and go, all right, who's submitting it? Out of the 4 different groups that you've identified earlier, so you can say that personal is submitted by the borrower, then there's the first review by the loan processor. I can add another level of review and says it is then reviewed by either the branch manager or the loan agent. So I can have multiple groups at the same level, or I can have multiple levels of review and approval on the workflow. And what's important to point out is that your workflow role is what dictates your access control. So in this very specific case, if If I did not have let's say, the branch manager able to review this folio, but I had him on employment and income only, then he would not even see any of the folios or any of the folios under the personal portfolio. So none of these, if you may, none of these folios would be visible to him, but he would be able to see the other ones because he does have a workflow role. So the thinking pattern is very simple. If you have a workflow role, then you have access to these portfolios and you're able to see and collaborate on them. If you're neither a submitter nor a reviewer, then it's as if these documents never exist and you will not even be exposed to them. And in a nutshell, that's really what this template wizard looks like. If you define your properties, you define the different groups of users, you define the folio structure, and then you bind together the users, the folio structure into the workflow. And once that's done, I'll just cancel it in this particular case. Once that's done, you can basically spin off a new instance of your template either through this UI or programmatically, and you then get prompted to enter those same properties that you've identified earlier. So each new case, you will be asked to provide the name, the borrower name, the phone number, and once that's done, and then you just invite users into the different groups. So I can start typing the first few letters of an existing user and it'll just be populated, or I can just go and what's happening in the background is that Courier is looking at that template and it's rendering it into an actual case. So it just created a new blank case off that template. Both Arnaud, myself, and the third Arnaud will have received email notifications saying you have been invited into the case Arnaud's Fancy Home Loan. Please click here to start collaborating, and that's what brings the different users in. So everyone gets invited the moment a case is spun off. I could still go and invite additional users if I wanted. So I could still go and add. I can invite another user in, and the moment I do that, you can have multiple users within the same group, but every user that you'll add will receive an email notification and will be prompted to either register if they're not an existing Leap user, or if they're an existing Leap user, they just get a link, and the moment they'll click it, they'll get straight into the screen and will be able to start collaborating.
That's great. Thank you. We have a question on the phone and then a few more in the panel. So, operator?
Sure.
Yes, our next question over the phone is coming from Sadiq. Your line is now open.
Hello, Taha. Thanks for the presentation. I was wondering, when are we expecting the Arabic language localization?
Very good point. So the product is obviously very young, so we're slowly getting there. We've already made sure that the application is built in such a way that we can translate and add different localizations with different locales. Right now, we're after doing French, Italian, German, and Spanish. Our strategy, which as opposed to how we used to do this with our on-premise products, is literally to get this done hand in hand with our prospective customers. So if you feel like the application is a good fit for your use case, that the only showstopper for you is to get the application Brazilian, in Portuguese, or in Arabic in this specific case, we can work hand in hand for speeding that process up. Currently, support for non-Latin languages is something that we're really trying to only establish around probably the 2017 timeframe, but that can be brought up earlier if that becomes a deal breaker for a specific opportunity. We can fast track that, and we can basically work with any customer that wants it, that needs the app in a different language than the one provided, and basically get that up and running.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Great. And we have a few questions on the panel. The next one comes from phone. As a customer, how do we decide when to use Leap Courier or XCP for case management use cases?
So this is a very good question. There is absolutely no comparison between XCP and Courier. Although we use the same case terminology, so we do use the term case in Courier as well, but Courier is not a case management system. There's no process engine behind this. I mean, yes, we do have a notion of workflow, but as you saw, it's a very linear submit, review, approve. It's nowhere close to the degree of functionality as an XCP, and we are actually working on an integration with XCP where you could have your processors, your agents, and the different people that participate in the in a content-centric process on XCP, but then leverage Courier for the external users. So what it does is that you can, you could implement a whole loan origination system on top of XCP, and you could use Courier for the document collection piece of it as well. You know, being able to spin off a new Courier instance through XCP, invite participants into that instance, and then once that Courier instance has been completed, get those documents back into XCP and finish the process. So I know that the use of the term case might have been a little bit misleading, but there is no comparison between the two tools. So you should still use XCP for all your content-centric apps where you have majoritarily, if not uniquely, internal users licensed for both Documentum and XCP who are processing these entries. And you can use Courier for your external document collection or collaboration with external parties. Those are your non-Documentum users, so people that do not have access to your repository, that you don't want to necessarily get them access on XCP because their role is so limited in scope that what you only require from them is something very lightweight and a lot simpler than what you can get on an XCP application, which is aimed more towards, you know, your back office, right? Your processors, the people that do approve and reject the actual application, and not just the ones that will do the document collection, like I showed, for example. And I hope that answers your question, so.
Great, thank you.
All right.
So, I'm sorry, go ahead. Okay, we have a couple more questions in the panel. A two-part question from Ivan. The first one is, does Courier have Documentum DFS interface? And the second is, does it have the MS Exchange interface to intake emails?
All right, so both very good questions. So we do have a set of RESTful, Courier does expose a set of RESTful API. So basically you can consume the Courier functionality through web services. I mean, you could think of the Courier API as Courier's own DFS in a way, but it's not really built into the Documentum DFS services. But you can basically have an integrated solution where you have a process that starts in Documentum and then at some point in time hands over to Courier for specific requirements around external content-centric collaboration or collection, and then that feeds back into your repository. And I think your second question was around, oh, sorry, I forgot the second question.
Sure. Does it have MS Exchange interface to intake emails?
Okay, good point. So that is one of the areas that we're currently exploring. So what you saw earlier, those email notifications that were sent out, they were sent out through the they were not routed through a customer's Exchange server, for example. They were sent off straight from the Leap email infrastructure. We do have, I know that we are working on capability to enable the use of a third-party email server. So you could basically route all of these notifications instead of going from an @leap.emc.com domain to leave from your own domain. I think if your question is more on how can I onboard more users in batch, there is also functionality that is being pursued right now at the level of Leap platform that would allow for some kind of sync with something like an Active Directory in order to provision accounts for all the different users instead of inviting users one by one. So the way I did it for demo purposes, that was probably not how most of you will use Courier. So it will probably heavily leverage the API so that nobody has at any point in time to enter someone's email address to invite them. All of that information should flow in through APIs. But I think that depending on where your interest lies, if it's more around supporting a third-party email server, or if it's more around provisioning users en masse, we are working on addressing both. It's a Leap platform to-do list. So if you want, I can try and get you some more detailed timing estimates from within the Leap platform team. So if you don't mind just capturing the email for the gentleman who asked this question, Diana, I can probably follow that up by email and get some more detailed information there.
Yes, we have Ivan's information. Thank you. Operator, I wanted to check in to see if there were any additional questions.
There are no further questions in queue at this time.
Okay.
I see an additional one on the Q&A from Alexandru Bitlan. What kind of REST services does Courier expose? So that's a good question. Right now we're almost at an 85% parity with the user interface in terms of API. So through the API, you cannot create a template through API. That's the only thing that you cannot do right now. So you still have to design your template using the UI just because of all the controls and the validation that needs to take place. But you can create new cases through the API. You can invite participants through the API. You can upload and download documents. You can export an entire case outside of Courier. You can modify the participants. You can add and remove folios. You can add and delete comments, and you can submit, approve, or reject a specific folio. So it's quite intensive. The API, we're aiming to cover the majority of the functionalities that you can do through the UI to be something that's possible through the API, so that you can either embed these functionalities into Salesforce.com or SAP or a completely different tool, or just integrate back and forth and push documents in both ways. The APIs are currently in a beta program, so if you're interested, please do reach out. We can get Anna, who's our beta program manager, involved, get a better understanding of your use case, and then understand if the beta API is the right thing for you, and we can basically give you access to those and work together into enabling your integration. the APIs will be, or at least are planned to be GA by the end of November this year. So even if being part of the beta is not something that you can do, you can't commit the time for it, we're really just looking at another month and a half before those APIs are generally available for everyone to use.
Great, thank you. Operator, I thought I would check in one last time to see if there are any questions in the queue or on the phone.
Still no further questions in queue at this time.
Great. Well, Taha, thank you so much for this great overview. And again, seeing the demo and having you go back and show the interface in one of the questions was fantastic. We really appreciated your time today.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for your time, everyone. I know it's quite late for a few of you. I really appreciate the time invested, and we remain available if there is any follow-up questions that might come in afterwards. Glad to address any of these and to get you some more clarity on what is it that we can do now, or what is it that we're trying to achieve in the near future.
Sounds great. Thank you. And for our
Thanks,
audience today, for your participation and for the great questions that came up. And just a reminder, in the next day or two, I'll be sending out the link to the replay. And just to echo Taha, if you have any additional questions at that time, feel free to reply back to me. And everyone have a wonderful day and wonderful evening. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you.
And that ends today's conference. Thank you all for your participation. You may disconnect at this time.